issues and trends in critical consumer goods shipments. My discussion today is with Jason Tham. He is CEO of Nulogy. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Bob.
Thank you for being with me today. What issues do you see out there with regard to critical consumer brand supply chains that are currently that supply chains are currently trying to solve with technology?
There are various issues that consumer brands are trying to solve these days. And, if you think of consumer brands, there are a lot of fast-moving consumer goods companies, pharmaceutical companies, and consumer packaged goods companies in food and beverage, as I mentioned, pharmaceuticals, home and beauty. And they face a lot of problems today. And the problem they're trying to solve is the lack of visibility. And they're looking for that next S-curve that from what we see. And what's this next S-curve? I think is, technology promises automation and sharing of data, but also that connectivity via collaboration and also visibility. So the problems that I think that these consumer brands that we see are trying to solve today is around getting to the next S-curve, and not only like intra-organizational collaboration, but in particular inter-organizational collaboration and visibility. That means looking outside of one's own organization and looking at that external supply chain, the external supply partners, contract manufacturers, contract packagers, third-party logistics providers, and getting that connectivity, getting that collaboration, and getting that visibility across that overall supply chain to drive better efficiencies and mutual benefits.
Funny, isn't it, how inter can be as much of a challenge as intra?
Yes.
You wouldn't think so, but the silos in internal organizations are just as bad in their own way.
Yeah, and I think that in days gone by, when you had enterprise resource planning systems, ERPs, it was very focused on that inside of the organization. So you're breaking down the silos, as you mentioned, HR from finance and so far, and sales. But now it's not necessarily around ERP, it's around multi-enterprise. How do I get collaboration across an organization and a supply chain? Because as we know, organizations don't win, but supply chains do win. So that whole multi-enterprise collaboration is very much the problem that I see that the brands and consumer brands are trying to solve for today.
All against a background of rising or chronic uncertainty in supply chains. I mean, this is what's causing the reaction, the need to make a change, is it not? You need visibility because companies cannot predict these disruptions that are coming up and can't deal with them. I mean, that is the situation, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, there's a constant plethora of disruptions, whether you think of inflation, wars, just bunch of different socioeconomic problems and geopolitical problems as well that affect the supply chain. Clearly today, we know that there's at least two large wars that are continuing, and when will they abate? But they do create problems in the shipping of the supply chain, commodities, obviously sourcing. And we know just going around the Horn of Africa increases it by many days versus going through the Red Sea. So just an example there. And that's why getting greater agility and resilience in the supply chain is that focus. And the question is, as you mentioned, is like how do you contend with those?
Well, let's talk about some of those solutions, because if headlines are to be believed, the disruptions show no sign of abating.
Yes.
It's not going to be better in the next few years. So how can supply chains cope?
I think we've been very focused on just predicting and forecasting. And forecasting is important, but what's even better than forecasting is agility. And we've been very focused on trying to get demand sensing, demand planning, but how do I get supply sensing and supply planning? How do I move upstream to work with my external supply partners to don't try to anticipate all the changes, but being able to coordinate and to be able to sense and respond and to not try to forecast those disruptions, but when they occur, then how can I mobilize, orchestrate, work and collaborate with my supply partners and my network to be able to respond with agility and resilience.
So many of the disruptions that have happened in past years would have been impossible to predict. You couldn't put them in a forecast.
Absolutely, that's
Right.
exactly right.
Like a ship is going to block the Suez Canal, or ships in the Red Sea are going to be fired on with missiles and things like that. You just don't bake that into a
No,
yeah. So in a sense, agility becomes the corrective when the forecast fails, right? Which
Agility
it
beats
always
for-
does.
agility beats forecasting any day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's so important. But if you could look into your crystal ball for a moment and tell me how you see all this kind of shaping up in the next 5 years, do you see improved ability of supply chains to deal with these disruptions through better agility, or do you see continuing problems? What's the future look like? And especially, what role will technology play in all this?
I think it's a technology, but as much as that, it's also a mindset. If you think of like social networks today, the world's so much smaller because we're all more connected. But that's because, like, you're on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, and there's a standard, and standards matter. And in supply chain, that's also true. Standards do matter. So the ability to interoperate, to be able to have systems and technology that's integratable, but that's integrated as well across organizations, across supply chains, so that there is better coordination, better orchestration, and visibility. That is really what cloud native solutions that are replacing ways of the past that are more siloed and very difficult to get at data. I think that's very much what is the promise for supply chain technology today.
But we're not going to have to wait on improvements in technology to see this happen in the next 5 years, are we not? I mean, is the technology not there already, and it's just a question of these supply chains availing themselves of it?
I think what you might be getting at is absolutely the fact that it's technology is here today, and it is available. That's why it's a great time to be in supply chain. And when I mentioned mindset, I think it's incumbent on leaders, supply chain leaders, to really take that leap, be brave, be courageous, and leverage those technologies that are available, that you can then, in fact, better collaborate, synchronize, and work with, in this case, describing your external supply chain partners. That's where the next S-curve is, to be able to synchronize that data, to be more agile, to respond to those disruptions or the demand that you can't forecast.
Interesting, though, that the innovations of technology need to be motivated by something up here in the human brain in order, as you say, the mindset. I really like that observation. Thank you so much, Jason, for that. Can I take a moment, though, to ask you about Nulogy specifically? I mean, how do you feel that you fit into this whole picture that we've been talking about?
Yes, Nulogy is focused in the multi-enterprise collaboration supply chain, specifically for consumer brands and pharmaceuticals, home and beauty. And what we believe in and we're enabling is that supply chains win, and you have to work with your supply partners. And we built a platform really to enable mutuality with a brand and its upstream suppliers, co-packers, contract manufacturers, to drive a more autonomous and smart and intelligent supply chain, so you can work together to be able to respond to disruptions.
Well, it's great to hear that the technology is indeed reflecting the need for this cross-collaboration inside and outside of companies all the way across the supply chain. Thanks again, Jason. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Bob.
I have been speaking with Jason Tham of Nulogy. Thank you very much for watching.